right, I'm excited to introduce Lara Scriba from Emery Cove Marina here in Emeryville, California. Been really excited to hear about more about this topic, health and wellness. I think that's something that we all want to do better on, and especially with this COVID-19, I think we should have the time or make the time to take better care of ourselves, both physically and mentally. Lara has a lot of experience with yoga and mental and physical health and wellness. So Laura, thank you for joining the Atomic Tuna Virtual Boat Show.
Great, thank you so much for having me, Gailey. So I've just got a little presentation we'll go through, and then there'll be time for questions at the end that we can get to specifics if anybody has anything like that. So I'll just share my screen real quick.
Okay.
All right. Got you up there?
Yep.
Good to go. Awesome. Great. So like Gailey said, my name is Lara, and I am a yoga teacher, a health coach, a nurse, and a homeschooling mom. So I've got 2 young boys, 7 and 10 at home, and we've been homeschooling for about 3 years now. And, you know, with my focus, I specialize with stress resilience, social and emotional wellness and awareness, and body acceptance. And just, of course, living on a boat, needing to take a minimalist approach. So anything that I do, just trying to have it where it's I don't have a lot of things that I need in order to accomplish the goal. And so just also really letting go in this lifestyle, you have to let go of compartmentalization. And as you've noticed, you know, with the COVID and everybody being in the same place, everybody's included when it comes to activities that we're having. But it also means that there's a beautiful blending of all these things and really make things happen. So let's see. And so life aboard, I've lived, I guess it's about 9 years ago, we moved on to our boat. We had a smaller boat in the beginning, a 40-foot boat. And then just about 3 years ago, moved up to a Tiana 52. And we started off in Canada, in Campbell River. So we did about 6 months there, and then went down to Victoria, BC for 2 years. And that's where I had my second son. After that, then we've been here ever since in Emeryville, which has been wonderful. And so we're Mexico bound in 2021, hopefully. And yeah, and like I said, I've been about 3 years homeschooling my boys now. And so when it comes to life aboard, and when it comes to health and wellness, there's just this theme of really becoming the master of your own ship, and really needing to take personal accountability for what is going on with yourself, because what we bring to the table really affects the experience that we're going to have. So just really bringing into play too what is going on with the family members that you have on board or in your homes right now, and being able to account for all the moving parts in there. And just to keep me on track, because I'm passionate about all this stuff, so I could go on forever. We're just going to compartmentalize in a bit with the physical, nutritional, mental, emotional, social, finances, education, spiritual, and environmental. So we'll go through all of this, but just like I said, even though they're kind of in sections, there's a lot of overlapping, as you'll find. So let's get to it. So number one thing that I found that is so very important with all of this is communication. I found that for myself, really needing to learn how to voice my concerns, my needs, that type of thing. And also when it comes to listening and what's going on with other people. When you're in small spaces, there's not a lot of time or space to have people guessing. So you have to assume that people don't know how you feel, and that you need to let them know. And also keeping it in a very clear, compassionate, and concise, consistent way, being really concise about it. And despite what the magazines tell you, it's not all sunsets and sundowners. So there's lots of moving parts when you're living on a boat or in a small space. And as you've probably found when it comes to being in the shelter in place, there's a lot of distractions that our daily life affords us when it comes to being able to avoid what's going on. So when we are taking those distractions away and we are, all together in one small space, it really means that you have to take note of what's happening and deal with that at that time, because it can really kind of boil overboard. And also taking assessment for what is going on with you, because wherever you go, there you are. So just like it is when, the fantasy that once you have a kid or once you get that new house or you do that new thing, that things are going to be better. We all know that's not the case. And you really need to take that personal responsibility and almost like an assessment of what is going on for you, and recognizing how you can just be accountable to your family or to whoever you're co-living with. And also when it comes to, as we move through all of this, I would love for you guys too to see what has been coming up for you in the shelter in place. What are your tendencies? What are your crutches? What are your go-tos? And where is it that you kind of struggle? Is it that it's really connecting with people? You're struggling with being alone, or is it that there's too much together time and you're really needing some of that quiet space? And also just noticing what's non-negotiable for you. You learn quickly, as you've probably found, what needs to happen in your life for you to be sane. So, and the idea that you can't stop the waves. I mean, none of us can control the environment, the weather, viruses, what is going on in the world, but we can learn to surf. We can learn to be more resilient. We can learn to look at things with a sense of wonder versus worry, and bring a sense of creativity into things. And then also really just really doubling down on being resourceful and looking at what's around you, whether it comes to activities or people around you to support you, or whatever else it is for you to get through. And when you just are out of things to do, then sometimes you just got to use your imagination. This always makes me laugh. So these are my two little guys, and it is great how kids I feel like I'm constantly learning from my kids, and really needing to hold myself accountable for the lessons that I try to instill on them. A lot of times they trump me with life lessons by far, because they just kind of get it. So. All right, we're going to drop into the physical and nutritional. I feel like this is the thing that people ask questions about the most when it comes to living on a boat. How do you do it? How do you stay active? How do you cook? So we'll get into that a little bit. So for me, especially when it comes to physical and mental health, for me are very much on the same plane. So movement is key for me, and getting out in nature. And so as a yoga teacher, I'm sure you figured yoga is my go-to, my number one. Weights and bands is really great for building your the muscles, staying strong. And also when it comes to being older in life, really when it comes to osteoporosis and really needing to build that bone density, it's really important to have that. We've done some HIIT training, whether it's on the dock or I've tried a little bit in the boat. We've got a little bit of room to do that. You just got to be creative again. Paddle boards are wonderful. I see that as a great way to really immerse in nature, and we use it a bit as a moving meditation to be able to go through, observe nature, all while getting some exercise. Kayaking and swimming. The other thing that is really nice when it comes to the boys, when we are out at anchor, because living a bit of a hybrid life here, we're on the dock, we live in our boat, but we are working and doing our schooling while being attached to a dock. But when we are out at anchor, I find that what is really nice is having scooters, because then there isn't something really big to put onto the dinghy to get to shore. And it gives them some of that flexibility and freedom for them to get out and kind of get their heebie-jeebies out, which is really great. Okay, so this is us using our weights, and this is my little plug for the only really specific thing that I have going is a Proform Fusion Space Saver weights. I can't remember, I'm sure it was on Women Who Sail, but I'm sure they gave that to me. But it's where you can slide a little button on it and it will adjust how many the slots of weights that are on there. So it is the footprint of one weight, but then you can modify how much weight you actually use on that. So it's been really great. I did use bands before when I was doing some HIIT training, but I really found that it was really nice to be able to just have a set of weights. So, and for my kids too, I think it's cool and it's fun and gets them out there and active, which is great too. Yoga, of course, is my go-to, and I just love being able to go and be out on the deck when we're anchored out, and to be out with the seals and in the sunshine, and there's usually somewhere on your deck that you can go, and then you can also use the lifelines to kind of support you when it comes to that. So again, it's not a perfect platform, but it's all about being flexible and being creative and using your space and just making do with it, and the sunshine and the animals make up for it. Befriending the breath. This has been something that is incredibly important when it comes to navigating the nervous system. So it's really important when we're out on the water and we're doing things that are unpredictable to be able to elicit a state of being in our body that we want to happen versus being in a reactive state. So for me, I'm a little bit more of the anxious one in our crew. And so really being able to bring in the breath to calm myself down when there's something that's going on that I am uncertain of or feeling maybe fearful of, and being able to use the breath, because it really does trigger your physiology and drop you into that relaxation state versus being in that fight or flight. And when it does come to being in dangerous situations, that is really important for the safety of your crew, to be able to control yourself and really get things back under control, so that way you can do what needs to be done to get you, to a safer place or move through whatever emergency is happening. The other thing is when you're tired and you're at the helm, there's also in yoga, there's a breath that you can use. It's called a breath of fire, but it helps to trigger the fight or flight in a good way, just mildly, but it also brightens you up and helps to wake you up. So if you're at the helm and you're on watch and needing to wake up when you're feeling kind of sleepy and out there by yourself, that's something that's really important too. And of course comes down to the safety of things. Again, yoga wears many hats. For me, I have very much a mental health lens and a holistic lens when it comes to my yoga practice. So I don't do it just for being flexible. It's great when it comes to being able to fit into small holes, being able to bend around, because the thing that is broken is never where it's easily accessible. So you always have to wiggle your way in. That's the other positive for having kids. They can get in there and get where you need to go. I know that my older son especially is my husband's go-to, and he helps him all the time get into those little tiny places. It's for strength, it's for emotional resilience, building that inner awareness. When it comes back to that communication piece, really being able to understand what is going on for yourself, being able to kind of drop in and listen what those feelings are that's going on in your body, being able to translate that for yourself, and then being able to clearly translate that to your partner is so valuable. So then you're not having all these blow-ups and not really understanding where it's coming from. Because sometimes it too can just be because of close proximity and just needing space and just needing to ask for those things. Also the deep states of rest. I thought it was really interesting. I went down to La Cruz this past winter and met Jean Socrates. So she has circumnavigated the world solo. She's the oldest woman to do that by herself. And I think she did a nonstop from North America as well. And it was interesting because she said that when it came to meditation, it was one of the most valuable things she's ever learned, because she was able to drop herself into this deeply relaxed state. And so even though there were times when she really couldn't get the rest that she needed to, she couldn't actually physically go to sleep for hours. But because she was able to quickly drop herself into that relaxed state and get a deep sense of rest while she was there and rejuvenation, she said that really changed things for her in being able to be safe on board by herself and to feel like she was well rested. And in all of this, and especially during COVID and everything else, because of this holistic lens, it is lending to your immune system being really robust. So that's why all these things are so important when we're looking at this. Again, when it comes to the mental health, we've learned so much about gut health. So a happy gut equals a happy mind and body. So aboard, I always look at food as being food is medicine. And my house, I do a lot of cooking and just really prioritize the food, stabilizing the mind, mood, energy, blood sugar levels. Anybody who has kids or has experienced it themselves, really being able to take that off the plate, that everybody is well fed, has good levels of protein in there, that they aren't going to have these sugar spikes and then be crashing and then asking for food again. And then just really building that healthy tissue. It's also, again, when you're looking at, trying to deal with seasickness and spending lots of time down below, if you are sailing, you're really wanting to have something that is nutrient dense, that's going to pull you through for a longer period of time, so you're not constantly going up and down. For me, I get seasick, so that's really important for me. Preparing as well ahead of time to have something fixed, so that way when it's time, we can just grab the bag or have a little sack out in the cockpit to have things to grab to eat there. The other thing is I really keep it simple. So though I do a lot of cooking, I like to keep it really, really simple and using a lot of the same ingredients. I do a lot of plant-based cooking. Not that I don't eat meat, but that's kind of, I do the plant-based first and then add the meat second. So really using my spices and letting that be a way to keep things interesting and to let things move. And then also keeping it simple. So 5 ingredients or less is the thing that I really try to abide by, because if it gets too much, then it just gets too complicated. One pot meals is really my go-to, getting lots of those veggies in there along with the meat, whatever else is in there. And that's what we have going on. Pressure cookers are great also because they can be sealed. So you can cook it, it stays sealed, and then you can put it in a safe place. I can put mine in my oven and keep it in there until it's time to eat. The other thing is, if you are at a dock, slow cooker is nice, just being able to free up using your stove and using up a lot of propane. And things like overnight oats, anything that you can prepare ahead of time and not have to cook. And like I said before, that something that's just really quick and easy to grab. Smoked meats, beans, seasonal eating, and just eating lots of frequent and fresh ingredients. Anywhere you go, if there's people there, there's going to be food, so you can explore cuisine there as well. And just keeping a stock of your staples. I always keep, the dried goods there, and then just get more creative with the add-ons and the veggies. Here, when I'm doing the both worlds, I have a veggie delivery that just comes every week, which is really good, and it helps to keep me eating healthy because I have them at hand. They're coming anyway, and I need to use them before they go bad. So it's really helps to keep me on task when it comes to that. And then the other thing is keeping the kids involved and having them cook. It's really fun to see them get excited about cooking. It takes a huge load off of me of having to do it all the time. And also the dishes is a good thing to get them going on. So that's been our new thing this year, which has been fantastic. Okay, the mental emotional piece of things. Life aboard is a pressure cooker for emotions, absolutely. Like I said before, there's really not a time or place for a grudge to be held. And just because trying to stomp around and pout and sulk when somebody is literally 3 feet from you just is not as fun or effective as it is otherwise. The other thing is it's not safe. You have to keep communication open. You don't want it to be that something's going on and you're not communicating well, because that is the safety of your crew when you're out sailing, but also the sanity of your household when you are a little bit more in place, or when you're sheltering in place. So it's better just to get it out and really get talking about it. So again, keeping that clear, compassionate, and consistent communication. I love Brene Brown's little thing that she does, and she says, I'm telling myself a story that, and then you continue on. So that way it's not coming across as being aggressive or the you always comment, but it kind of allowing there to be a exploration of and ownership of your interpretation of things, and then that invites a conversation versus a battle. Knowing your personality and owning it. This is something that was really important for me, is just to recognize I used to beat myself up a lot because I did need more alone time, and I did need a lot of physical exercise to keep myself mentally, on point, and really struggled with, my husband didn't need that as much and felt like it was more of an imposition to carve that time out. And over the years, I've just really learned that I can be a better mother, I can be a better wife, I can be a better friend if I am in this happy, healthy place in my own being. And being able to just say that, I think another default is waiting to have somebody recognize something that you're needing and kind of waiting for permission. And it can be challenging, of course, when you've got the kids and everybody's swapping duties and kind of feeling like you need to tag team. But I think when you have that communication and you let your partner know why it is so important that you have these certain things, again, coming back to the non-negotiables of what is happening for you. And then when it comes to that as well is honoring that, as much as you want them to honor that for you, you want to honor that for them. I did a training way back when in my community nursing, and it was kind of like a color wheel. And it was just really interesting it was like if you're a blue or a red, a yellow or a white, and no matter what color it was, you had to keep in mind who it was that you were speaking to. So even though you might be a blue, but if you're speaking to a red personality, then you need to speak in red's language. So really getting clear on what you're needing, and then being able to translate it in their language. So that way it's an interesting and provocative conversation for them, instead of, if you're more emotion based, kind of getting a little bit more factual about what is going on for you, vice versa. So just really trying to come to terms with those types of things. And again, knowing what your default is. Is it that you are a little bit more anxiety prone, or you tend to worry? That's okay, knowing that, and you for yourself, but also for your partner. When we were in, again, the cruise, Bihan had done a presentation, and she said that was a game changer for her when, she could just let go of feeling like they needed to change it so much, but yet for her husband to just recognize that's how she's going to react in certain circumstances. And I just resonated with that deeply, because I am a more of the anxious one on board. And so just knowing that allows me to have conversations before we enter something, when it comes to a windy anchorage or docking the boat, or something that is new that I need to talk through. And if we have time, then we can talk through those things. Of course, in boating, there's always the times where it's not the time to have the conversation, and it needs to happen later. But the awareness of the partner knowing that you're coming from that place, and then me being more anxious, understanding that we will have a conversation about it later, but right now I need to do X, Y, and Z, and he's of course going to keep me safe and until we get to that point, and then we'll have the discussion afterwards of why decisions were made or whatever that is. And then to just recognizing some other people may feel a little bit more comfortable, or a lot more comfortable, living on the edge, and it doesn't seem to bother them, but still needing to have that accountability to the other partner who may not. And it becomes a dance. And depending on the day, sometimes it looks very, very nice and it's beautiful, and it's this, wonderful experience. And then other times it's like dodging a bull. So sometimes you just have to know when to kind of step away, or let them step away, or, let a conversation die if it's obvious that there really is no substance to it, and it was maybe just the circumstances under which you were in, something where there was a lot of pressure, and just giving it time to talk about it in a later time and space when everybody's calmed down. So support networks, finances, and education. And so with this is really getting on the same page, and what is your travel style? So with this one, you know, it's a lot of the conversations that are happening this year as we're getting ready to cruise down to Mexico, and just being very clear about, you know, what it is that our expectations are, and being clear with that with each other. And we may have some different ways we want to go about it, but the goal being the same, and really getting into the nitty gritty. And this is where it can kind of mimic what is going on with the COVID situation, just because there has been such, and especially for, you know, some people, just such a deep uprooting of what their normal is. So it's really having to have these bigger conversations about what is important. And if, you know, financial circumstances are changing, usually when people are going cruising, of course, your cruising kitty is much smaller than your salary used to be. So really having to downsize, but then also figuring out, again, non-negotiables. Is it visiting with family? Is it Wi-Fi because you need it for work? Time at the dock because you have kids, and that allows for, you know, whether it's you want to take classes or immersing into the community, whatever that may be. Preparing a will and having, you know, the legal aspect of things taken care of, advance directives. I think that's really important, of course, as a nurse, just knowing exactly what it is that you want for yourself to be done in case something were to happen to you. If you were to have a stroke or heart attack or be incapacitated in some way, what is it that you want done? And so that way you are very aware of that. That conversation has been had, but also your partner and your family members. But then also legally, it is in writing. So that way, you know, when it comes to being a do not resuscitate or whatever it is, if it were to come to those certain circumstances. And then also the care and education of your kids. So figuring who would take care of them, and then also how you want to educate them and how that's going to look for you. So big conversations to have, but I think it's really good for everybody to be on the same page when it comes to that. Education outside the box. This was a good day on my boat when I had just cleaned, so don't be, this right now looks really, really organized and clean. It is in boxes. So some of our homeschooling is the traditional curriculum that we have, and that has been working great. It helps to give me structure. There are many, 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 many ways to homeschool. And I'm sure everyone else that has been, you know, thrown into the homeschool pot, I feel for you guys, because I know that it has taken me a couple of years to get my groove, to figure out what was really my style and what was comfortable for me and for my kids and for the lifestyle that we were living and wanting to live. And so figuring out what to let go of and what to keep has been an ongoing process. So I just hope for those of you that are new to homeschooling right now, just recognize also that this is quarantine style homeschooling. This isn't true homeschooling. We spend so much time off of our boat and with community and with friends and taking classes and doing all these different things and exploring the world in a different way than we are able to right now. So everyone being in the same small place. I know that a lot of schools are having where the kids are on their computers a lot. I know that can be really disruptive for my kids, so it can be challenging. So our environment provides endless opportunities. This is mostly, you know, this is what our learning looks like. We get out there, and I imagine so when we go cruising as well, that will just really, really open up, that whatever comes our way that day when it comes to, you know, animals or experiences, that's really going to help to be the jumping point for our learning and just being able to work with that. And it keeps the kids really engaged and excited about learning, which is great. This actually is a real-time shot, I will have to say. I snuck this photo and I was so proud. It's not always that pretty looking at our house when we're homeschooling, but the collaborative learning. I just love the multi-generational and also the multi-level when it comes to different age groups. When we are working with co-op or even just my kids, it just really helps to reinforce learning and builds confidence, the leadership and mentoring skills, and on both ends. So it's really fantastic watching how it works. And and even us coming away from a lot of the programming that we were doing as well, just seeing how, when it comes to being the child-led learning, how excited they can get about certain subjects, and just really fostering that for them has been really wonderful. And just staying engaged when it comes to the adults as well, being an active part of the adventure. So whether your adventure is how to survive living in your small spaces right now with reduced access to things, or if it's that you're actually getting ready to go cruising, there's endless things to get into when it comes to the boats. But what's really important is you know, getting yourself behind the helm, being at the helm while you're sailing, learning how to navigate, engine repairs, maintenance, sewing, languages, community resources, whatever it is. But the worst thing you can do is just sit on the boat and wait to get to your destination. So just really getting yourself out there. And for my kids as well, you know, they're learning to sail as well, so they can be really active crew members, an active part of the adventure versus just standing by and waiting. The spiritual and environmental, we're just here, we're connecting with the rhythms of nature. So whether it is the ebb and flood of the tides, or it's the cycles of the moon every month, the full and moon. Oh, I'm not sure who this is at my office, sorry. But we're really dropping in as well to the seasonal rhythms that we have going on, and just seeing how beautiful the world is, and having a sense of celebration, and giving a reason to take notice, you know. And just even with the days as the sun rises and sets, it gives you something to kind of predictably count on when, especially you're out moving and sailing, when there isn't that predictability, it allows you to really ground in those rhythms that are present every day, every month, every season, and every year. So it's a beautiful way to really immerse yourself into the environment that you're in. Create intentional spaces and time to be alone. On the one side, just really have clear signs when it is that you need to be alone. When there isn't the space to actually go into a separate room or go into a separate place, just have that signal that headphones on, you're done. You're having your own little timeout, and it's no communication, no request, you're doing your own thing. And just really being clear about that as well with the people in your household. Find your own little slices of paradise. This is Logie. He was out there, and he was doing some homeschooling out on the hammock, just needed some space to be by himself. So that was a great way to navigate that. This is me planning for my yoga class, and I took my paddleboard out and threw an anchor. And so that way I was untouchable for that 30 minutes and was able to just be out there, but also be immersed in nature, and just really use that as a grounding force during that time where I really can't get away, but needed some sort of option. So there's lots of resources and that type of thing on my website on Kita Kaizen Yoga. I do a weekly virtual yoga class. It's donation based. Anyone is welcome. So you can hop on that page, and you can hop on. We've got lots of floating yogis that come every week. There's a class that I've been teaching every, varying times, but for 6 years here at the marina. And so I've opened that class to be an online class. So it's really wonderful watching that grow over the last month or so. And there's a lot of great sailing resources. I know when I first started, there weren't that many, but it is the founders of Women Who Sail who I had started watching and just devouring their blogs, seeing what they were doing, how they were doing it. And Women Who Sail also has like Women Who Sail who cook, pressure cook and sew and write and all these different things. There's also Kids for Sail. I didn't write it on here, but that's really great if you have children and you're looking at how to do this. Women Who Sail, of course, you can get those answers too. But the Boat Galley is a great resource, and Voyaging with Kids is a book that some of those founding members had written all together of all the questions and of all the things that you need to do when it comes to cruising with kids and how to make it happen. So thank you guys so much. I think Gailey, if there's time that we can do some questions when it comes to any personal things or anything else you want to dive into. So I'll just stop my share and come on back.
All right. Laura, thanks so much. You shared a lot of really good information with us, and we really appreciate that. She gave a lot of things for your self-relationship and your careers and boating. And if you need to reach out to Laura, you gave, I think, did you just give your phone number? If you want to give that, or if you want to just have us call them us. And then
Yeah, I mean, I have
touch.
my Facebook page, the Key to Kaizen Yoga, or you can look me up on Facebook. But I'm happy, yeah, anytime to talk about this stuff. I love it. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to help out.
All right, Laura, thanks so much. We really appreciate it. And say hi
Great.
to the kids.
I will. Thanks, Wayne.